Hello, welcome to Tesla Physics series again. In this video I will describe one effect which I get back in 2003. The title of this video is Mixing Reality. I spoke about creating realities, but there is a time gap when where we have connection with another realities, but this time gap is also to go in this reality. So in our life we very often, more than we used to think, go in one reality to another. So it's not just straight line, we are going like this. So if in that time I was work here, the oscilloscope is here like that, everything is like this. I work on collecting back EMF. Back EMF actually is electrostatic in nature. To collect energy from back EMF from coil on different way. So I work almost every day, all day, very hard. But to tell, let's say on this way, this is, let's say, setup. But setup doesn't work without observer. Over here I am observer, but I am not simply observer because I invent the things, I designed the test, I build the device, so I'm not simply observer. I'm more part of this test than simply observer who will come and see what I have done. So when you're a researcher, you're thinking, you're changing your mind. So like I said, you are very often in state 0, state 1. Actually Tesla was very Tesla said for himself that he had problem to make decision, very simple decision. He had make a problem to make it. So looking from this perspective, he was a person who was very often in the state 0. State 0 is linked to other realities. So I work very hard. The plan of this test to collect back EMF from the coil. Actually it's not, it is just a part of test which I did then, to capacitor. The capacitor was connected to oscilloscope, and I, with this new method, I measure how long time I need to charge capacitor to 600 volts. 600 volts collected in this capacitor is very dangerous to touch. So I made habit to, after every test, to discharge this capacitor. That's why but the line, how the time of charging, I look on the scope. So I put the 200 volts per row, and when it was 3, it is 600 volts. I work on it every day, long day, all day, and night before this effect happened, I noticed that something strange is, let's say, the resonance frequency for this coil in this setup was 15 kilohertz. I tried to add additional, the same coil, but I was surprised that in series, and I surprised that the resonance frequency didn't change. Then I add third one. I also noticed that resonance frequency didn't change as well. For me it was completely very strange, and at that time I had no idea what's going on. Overnight I was thinking to explain why third coil in series didn't change the resonance frequency, and I got some ideas, because some TV sets works on 15 kilohertz, and I was thinking that from neighbors, whatever, this resonant frequency jump in, but it was nonsense anyway. And also I noticed that digital instruments start to be crazy a little bit around it, but I didn't pay attention. Then it's happened that let's say if actually every minute I charge, discharge, so you can imagine how many charging, discharging I made. It's not, I always change something. So you are the part of this setup. You change, this gives some improvement, this not, and so on. And when the time for lunch came, I discharged the capacitors, and I saw it's completely zero. Went to lunch. When I came back, I was surprised that on scope I saw that 600 volts is capacitor. I knew that I discharged the capacitor, and I was confused, and I looked setup to see that maybe I didn't switch off device, but setup, but everything was correct. The setup doesn't work, but scope shows me that there is a 600 volt in capacitor. Even I knew that I discharged capacitor before lunch. I said, okay, I will discharge again. And when I try, I didn't touch. When I have idea to discharge, I saw the voltage drops on the scope. Then I was much more confused. And I checked with instruments, the no voltage in capacitors. I was very tired and very confused, and I made some, from this perspective, stupid idea. Because let's say I will, because I use this the battery like this one, it is 5 ampere hours, 12 volts. Let's say I will charge maybe because it was almost empty batteries. I'm always charging to 13.7 volts the batteries, and I can disconnect from setup and try to charge the batteries, which is long in use for this setup. And I saw that the current is negative, which means that the current goes from battery to power supply. I switch off immediately to prevent any damage, and I was confused. It cannot be over 13.7 volts. I took instrument to check the voltage what is, and I put this instrument on 20 volt scale, and instrument showed me over voltage, which means the battery has over 20 volts. Completely confusing things. Then I went to 200 volts scale, and it showed me it is about 12 volts in battery. Then I back to 20 volts again, and it showed me 12 volts point something. So you must agree with me that it's really weird. I think because I was so intense with this, that maybe there was a mixing of realities. That's all. Thank you for watching.